So my fellow Terrans, it's Alan. So one of my biggest struggles in life has always been speaking. I always try to avoid speaking to people as little as possible. You know, I didn't have a good education growing up, and I also have some cognition problems, so I'm a bit slow at processing information than most people. And I feel this has held me back a lot in life. I feel I missed a lot of opportunities because of this. Because I'm afraid of how I talk. I'm insecure of my speech skills. No, I'm just afraid of communicating with other people, and I want to improve on that. I want to know how to say sentences properly. I want to have good vocabulary, and I want to have good tonality and conviction in my voice. So I had this idea. It's to read a book out loud on camera. And the book we're going to be reading is called Grand Design by A.M. Perilla. This story was actually posted on the HFY subreddit originally, and it was later published into a book. So I'll post the Reddit thread down below in the description, as well as the Amazon link for the published version. And I did manage to contact the author. I did get his permission to read this book on camera for my YouTube channel. So I figured I could do this daily, read a chapter each day, and upload it to YouTube, and hopefully my speech improves with each day. So we'll start off by reading the back cover. Humanity once ruled space, building an empire that stretched across hundreds of stars. Now Earth is a cold cinder in the void, its colonies and ships annihilated in an instant. For 5,000 years, the surviving races huddled in the dying light of those few stations that avoided total destruction to eke out their existence in the shadow of the long-dead humans who built their homes. When a piece of that lost legacy resurfaces, the few who still remember humanity have one last opportunity to find the truth and avenge the fallen. Okay. So, now we're going to read the first chapter. Okay. Jezri shifted in her chair, trying to find a comfortable way to rest on the bare metal. Harsh light shone down from above, deepening the far corner of the room in shadow that cloaked the trio of Keaton customs off. Deepening the far corner of the room in the shadow that cloaked the trio of Keaton customs officers. Although their faces were indistinct, their whispered conversations carried quite clearly to her ears. Is there anything in the Tertiary Codex that covers her case? One asked worriedly. Another shifted his way through rhythmically between his front and hind feet, scrolling through a long chunk of text on his tablet. He worked in silence for a long minute before disgustedly tossing the tablet at the third Kita. I can't find anything, he trilled in frustration. No case to handle her, and no exception policy for unhandled cases. The two others bobbled their head in irritation before leaning further into their hushed conference. Jezri sighed. She was used to some degree of confusion, but Kita were notoriously obsessed with protocol. If she had known that they had purchased the station, she would have gone well out of her way to dock an unmonitored slip. Excuse me, gentlemen, she inquired, at which all three officers flinched as if struck. Will you be much longer? I have a schedule to keep, so I'd prefer to be on my way. A split second of hope colored their faces, quickly replaced by returning frustration. No, 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 the first officer fumed. We have to classify you in the biological threat matrix before we let you board. The first question in the assessment, as you are aware, asks whether you are a carbon or sulfur-based life form. He fixed her with an annoyed look. You are neither. She grinned at him. How interesting. Does your codex say that unclassified life forms must spend the rest of their days stuck in customs? No, he buzzed back, stalking to and fro manically. It gives no guidance. The classification questionnaire had questions for every life form until today. Jezri shrugged. Obviously not every life form. She waved away his retort before it could form and forged onward. I'm aware of some Keaton codices. I'm aware of some Keaton codices as well. Fuck. I'm aware of some Keaton codices as well, you know. There's one that I particularly like, which states that no sentient being may be held in government custody for longer than 3 arcs unless criminal charges are filed. The customs officer stopped pacing and turned a pale shade of puce. Not sure what that word is. Puce? Well, yes, of course. But the codices also say that no life form may enter the station without going through the biological assessment. What a conundrum, she muttered. Sorry. What a conundrum, she muttered, the corners of her mouth twitching. This is serious, raged the officer, stalking towards her. If the codex is flawed, then so is our security. If our security is flawed, his mouth worked at words that never came before. He slumped down. Looking back towards his comrades and finding no offended help from the quarter, he turned towards Jezri and straightened up. Please, ma'am, do you have any information on your classification that could help us? A direct question, damn. Do not lie. Yes, she said through gritted teeth. All three officers goggled at her, but she offered no clarification. Well, said the one holding up. Well, said the one holding the codex tablet. What information do you have that will help us? Not even by omission. You're looking in the wrong section, Jezri muttered. Frustrated, the officer flipped through the index. Do you have any idea how big the codex is? What section are you listed under? Not even if it puts you at risk. Okay. Jezri shot an annoyed look at the inquiring officer. Section 46, subsection 1039. Ancient devices and artifacts. The looks on their faces almost made this whole affair worth it, she decided. 3 officers conferred around the tablet for several seconds before falling silent. Well, strike me, said the one holding the tablet. He held the tablet up and showed the entry he had found. A passable image of her face was at the top left, with the lines of Keaton script flowing down the screen beside it. Jezri Tam, he read. Human form biological construct. His eyes widened. The date stamped on this record. Human? Sputtered the officer nearest. Human, sputtered the officer nearest her, cutting him off. The humans? Yup, she said, giving him a bland smile. The very same builders of the Cygnus Gate, architects of the transit networks, creators of one increasingly late trader. Okay. Did you think dogs were the only life that they left behind? Kita didn't have a very good face for expressing annoyance, but this officer was certainly trying his best. Dogs are a standard carbon-based spacefaring species, certainly no outlier. I understand, Dogs are a standard carbon-based spacefaring species, certainly no outlier. I understand, dogs. Why are you so different? Tell the whole truth always. Jezri resolved to find a planet where direct questions were considered extremely rude and move there forever. Human biological engineering discovered the concept of scaffold-assisted growth at around the same time their computer systems were using photolithographic nanoscale silicon networks, she sighed. There were experiments to develop improved biological constructs that incorporated their traditional computing architecture as a growth substrate. I am the end result of a very, very long line of. I am at the end result of a very, very long line of research in that technique. The codex officer stroked his eye ridges thoughtfully. Silicon-based biochemistry has never been observed. Present company excluded, he added with an apologetic nod to Jezri. That would certainly explain the classification discrepancy. Jezri flashed him a bright smile and stretched theatrically. Well, gentlemen, I'm glad we solved that mystery. Does that mean I can be on my way? He shook his head, tapping furiously at the tablet. No, we should gather some more information to refine the biological questionnaire. Won't matter, she interjected hastily. The codex doesn't permit classification. The codex doesn't permit classification of unique specimens into questionnaires. They all go under artifacts. This isn't the first time I've had this conversation. All three officers blinked. Of course, said the codex officer. That makes perfect sense. In that case, ma'am, you are free to go about your business. In that case, ma'am, you are free to go about your business pursuant to the regulations of this station for a duration not to exceed 40 arcs. Thanks, she chirped, popping up from the chair and gathering her things. But if I may ask, said the codex officer hesitantly, are you truly the only one of your kind? Do not lie, except... Yep, just me, she said, tossing them a wave as she strode out of the room. So yeah, that was the first chapter. I want to do this daily, so hopefully, maybe by the end of the year or something, I'll sound completely different. But who knows? I just want to improve on my speech.